Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of the Smart 7's brought to you by your Nectar prices at Sainsbury's. These days it's hard to find value for money on your weekly shop, right? Well, maybe you're doing it wrong. You need to unlock the magic of your Nectar prices at Sainsbury's. Every Friday, you can unlock up to 10 personalised discounts on things you love in the Nectar app. And the best part is that while Nectar prices are for everyone, your Nectar prices are just for you. So check your Nectar app and unlock your Nectar prices to save more now. Enjoy your own personalised discount on things you love with your Nectar prices at Sainsbury's. That's good food for all of us. The offer's for 18 plus, Nectar app required. Unlock up to 10 your Nectar prices weekly. Available in supermarkets, online and in locals with Smart Shop. T's and C's apply. Seven things you don't really need to know, but probably should. I'm Jamie East, and this is the Sunday 7.
I'm Kira Evans in for Jamie East this week, and on today's episode of the award-winning Sunday 7, we find out what caused this week's internet outage, meet a genuine space hero, and get to hear some clarinet playing from an operating theatre. Plus, Will Guyatt, the Smart 7's resident tech guru, introduces us to Luna and explains what happens when your bed can't get online. If you're enjoying our episodes, please do like and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. We're here 7 days a week at 7 a.m. with the 7 biggest stories on the Smart 7 in association with Metro. Before we get started though, it was on this day in 1984 that baby Faye became the first ever newborn recipient of a cross-species heart transplant. The infant received a heart from a young baboon after she was born 12 days early with an underdeveloped heart. The groundbreaking operation was successful thanks in part to the use of a new drug called cyclosporine. Monday morning saw a major outage across the internet and thousands of sites going offline, including some major names like Signal, Duolingo, Roblox and even Snapchat. In the world we live in now, where cyber attacks are becoming increasingly common, it was an alarming moment. The Down Detector site, which monitors popular websites and tracks issues, had over 8 million reports on Monday. So what happened? Well, it doesn't appear to have been a malicious attack. Instead, it was related to one of the backbones of the internet, Amazon Web Services. Sky News correspondent Amelia Harper explains the background.
Companies rent IT resources like servers or storage or databases instead of buying and maintaining their own physical hardware. And this AWS infrastructure underpins millions of companies, websites and platforms. So millions of businesses are going to be affected when there is an issue with this AWS system.
The issue affected everything from the Starbucks app to people's Ring doorbell, and it certainly brought home the reality of the connected internet-dependent world we live in. Nick Doty is a senior technician at the Centre for Democracy and Technology, and he says we're often not aware of just how interconnected all of these companies are.
There was sort of a cascade of failures. Now it sort of takes a cascade to get everything working again. If you go to your banking website, you're trying to book airplane tickets on their website, or you're using a messaging app. All of those different companies are basically renting computers and services in one of these large data centers.
On Friday morning, Amazon Web Services issued a lengthy statement explaining exactly what happened. The issue appears to have been caused when a bug in automation software meant that customers couldn't connect to a database system called DynamoDB. The issue was caused by a blank record in the DNS register for a data center, and the impact was to take down thousands of websites and apps across the world. Ed Amoroso is a research professor at the New York University Centre for Cyber Security, and he says when something of this scale happens, the response is as important as the outage itself, and it's a useful reminder of just how vulnerable shared internet services can be.
First thing you do is fly the plane. So the first thing they need to do is get their arms around their systems and get them operational. Then at that point, pilot would say, navigate. You make sure that you've got a good plan. And that's when you start to communicate out what the issues were, what the problems are. My guess is they're somewhere between getting their arms around this and then starting their plan for the fixes and for avoidance. The bad thing is the proverbial all your eggs in one basket. So when you do have, your business running, say, on Microsoft or running on Amazon, you knock wood every day hoping that things are going to be okay.
It's been a bumpy week in tech, as we've just heard, but there have been some nuggets of gold in the river of chaos. And when it comes to nuggets, there's only one man we trust to bring the goods, and that's the Smart 7's tech guru, Will Guyatt. So, Will, the AWS outage saw some strange side effects, from Ring doorbells going down to the collapse of the Starbucks app. What was your favourite outage incident?
Such as the reliance on a small number of key platforms like Amazon Web Service, which most of us would think is a nebulous cloud that powers the internet rather than a bunch of sheds with massive computers in them, that this configuration error on one of these data centres took around 20% of the internet temporarily offline. And it wasn't just banks, news websites and services we rely on. It even took out the virtual linesman in the Premier League match between West Ham and Brentford. And perhaps the best or worst moment from this outage, the almost £3,000 8-sleep smart bed that can record your sleep data, turn up the heat or cool down your mattress via an app, found itself unable to do any of its features, and even left some users contorted as the lack of internet meant it was unable to straighten back to flat from an inclined position. And according to one user online, his bed was uncontrollably heating up and meant they were sleeping in a sauna. But don't worry though. 8Sleep's CEO has said that the company is currently working on outage-proofing your bed. Well, mine's already outage-proof by being a wooden frame with an old-school mattress.
When your bed is online, it's surely a sign things have gone too far.
You know I absolutely love tech, but the idea of forcing everything online is a truly bad idea. It's even actually got its own technical term. It's recognised as the enshittification of the internet, the deterioration of products or services, and this bed is a prime candidate.
What did those people do? Although I am reminded of the sign on an escalator which says, "Out of order, this is now a stairs."
In perhaps the most glorious 2025 way possible, most of them took to social media to complain they were stuck, too hot or too cold on their mattress, which meant it was a good job that Facebook, Insta and X were not impacted by this outage.
Away from internet outages, there have been some big names warning about AI this week, who has joined the anti-AI crusade.
More than 700 celebrities, scientists, faith leaders and politicians have signed an open letter calling for a 6-month pause in the development of super intelligent AI. It's an eclectic mix with Prince Harry somewhere in there, and he's alongside the co-founder of Apple, Steve Wozniak, 5 Nobel Prize winners, and the 2 founders of modern AI. The letter reckons that AI could be more intelligent than us humans within 2 years, and the only thing to stop AI companies barreling towards superintelligence is the realization that society doesn't want it. And believe it or not, Prince Harry actually summed it up pretty well by saying, "The future of AI should serve humanity, not replace it. And the true test of progress is not how fast we move, but how wisely we steer. There is no second chance." Well, thanks for trying anyway, folks.
We're still waiting for the AI bubble to burst, and it seems like Meta is stepping back in a bit. What was the story with the job losses this week?
They've laid off 600 engineers this week, which to those of us from the outside looking in feels completely at odds with the AI race we're told all of these tech companies are currently involved in. These cuts are in their AI team, some of those involved in research, product development and infrastructure. None of those laid off are said to be those the company aggressively headhunted and offered tens of $1 million as a signing on bonus to join Meta. Instead, the teams impacted are recognised for many of the company's early AI breakthroughs, but the company now appears to be fully reorganising its AI operations, which have grown too rapidly. And there's a suggestion that the company will rehire as many as a third of those engineers into different roles in the company. Mark Zuckerberg has confirmed that AI remains Meta's central focus, while I wonder whatever happened to the metaverse and those legless avatar tennis games.
And finally, for those who also wondered what that tab on their Prime Video screen is, tell us more about Luna.
Luna is Amazon's game streaming service. Imagine, if you would, a Netflix but for games. You can connect a wireless controller from any console you've got at home if you want, or now, with its new feature Game Night, you can connect up to play with your smartphone. Luna launched in 2022 and has always been a technically confident system, but it's hardly been promoted by Amazon until now. The big push for Luna in 2025 is around Game Night, which is currently included in your Prime subscription for no extra money. Game night brings your friends and family together in front of the TV and is all about casual gaming like the old school Nintendo Wii. There's a load of quiz games like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and even a cool new take on Tetris, which you can play with 4 players simultaneously on one screen.
Do people actually use these apps?
Bizarrely, we could already consider Amazon Luna as potentially one of the most popular game systems in the UK, given the number of Amazon Fire Sticks and TVs in homes across the country and the number of us already subscribed to Amazon Prime.
What's your recommendation, Will?
Hear me out on this one. Well, I used to work in the games industry, so some people might think I'm as high as the man himself by recommending a game called Courtroom Chaos starring Snoop Dogg. It's like all my daytime US TV dreams are coming true, where an AI-generated Judge Snoop presides over cases in his courtroom as you answer his questions by speaking into your smartphone. Imagine one of those murder mystery evenings with a friend who fancies themselves as an actor. It's also the first time I think I've ever found an AI character genuinely laugh out funny. Now, of course this won't win Game of the Year, but for something included in your Prime sub and probably already available on your smart TV or streaming box right now, it's great fun to play with friends or family when you've got them all round at your house.
Still to come on the Sunday 7 in association with Metro, a fresh row about climate change and how technology can change your life. The government's plan to reach net zero emissions is having unexpected effects that seem to be putting the project in jeopardy. Domestic energy bills have remained stubbornly high as energy companies invest in renewable energy, but the short-term pain may be outweighing the long-term gain in the minds of the British consumer. The Tories have floated a plan to scrap the Climate Change Act of 2008 and bin carbon taxes on electricity, while also cutting funding for renewable energy. Shadow Energy Secretary Claire Coutinho says it's time to face the facts.
We think the net zero targets are a problem, and that's for 3 reasons. 1, it's making the cost of electricity incredibly expensive, and 2, we're seeing jobs move from this country to countries abroad. That's actually worsening climate emissions. Every time a business leaves here for a country powered by coal, you're worsening climate emissions, and so we don't think it's doing what it says on the tin. The net zero targets at this point are not helping climate change, the economy, or cost of living for households.
The government is pushing back, and this week they published the first national plan aimed at outlining what clean energy will mean in practice. They're planning to recruit 400,000 workers to install and implement clean energy technology across the UK. The roles will include plumbers, electricians, welders and 20 other occupations, and it's intended to help drive the pace of change. Sir David King was a professor of chemistry at Cambridge and is the head of the Climate Crisis Advisory Group, and he says having a clear plan for housing and development is essential.
We can't quite separate the housing crisis from the energy transition crisis. New houses ought to be modernised by going green. So I think the two kind of fit together. I would rather welcome this statement from the government, the first statement of any government in the world to fill the skills gap to meet that energy transition. But more than that, it's going to fill the skills gap.
While clean energy is a focus, the government is also trying to clean up Britain's dirty water, and this week also saw a new scheme to implement steeper fines for raw sewage spills. Environment Secretary Emma Reynolds was asked on the BBC if the money from those fines would be put towards investment in infrastructure.
My preference is that we seek the biggest level of investment we can in the infrastructure, because that is where the system that we inherited has failed. We have leaking pipes. We haven't built a reservoir in this country for over 30 years. 30 years. I mean, it's extraordinary, really. What I will say is that we have secured from the water industry a commitment of £104 billion in our infrastructure, because we have been severely let down through many, many years of underinvestment in our water infrastructure, and that is really bad for consumers and the environment.
Over 2 million people in the UK suffer from sight loss, with 340,000 people officially registered as blind. Age can be a factor in sight loss, with what is called age-related macular degeneration affecting about 250,000 people across the UK. But now a new advance in technology is addressing the condition called geographic atrophy by implanting a tiny microchip into the eye. Patients wear a special set of glasses with a built-in camera and a small computer processor that they can carry in their pocket. That then sends images images to the chip, which is only 2 millimeters square and sits under the retina. The images are then cleaned up and travel to the patient's brain, where they learn to interpret their meaning and ultimately see again. The treatment has been developed at London's Moorfields Hospital by Professor Mahi, Muqit, a consultant ophthalmic surgeon, and he says it's got huge potential to impact on people's lives.
This is the first treatment that's been demonstrated to effectively give patients meaningful vision that they can use in their daily life, such as reading, writing. So I think this is a major advance. This is pioneering, and I think what you'll find with patients that it is life-changing.
Sheila Irvine is one of the volunteers who took part in the trial, and she began to lose her vision 30 years ago. She described having 2 black discs at the centre of her vision, and eventually she had to give up driving, reading and uses a stick to get around. She had the implants fitted 3 years ago and can't believe the difference.
Amazing. One happy bunny. I could have cried when I looked, because I haven't seen letters for so long, and then I lit up the word and it was overwhelming. I read the post, read books, do crosswords, Sudoku.
Did you ever imagine that you'd be able to read a book again?
Never. Never on your Nelly.
Still to come this Sunday 7 in association with Metro, we wander down the AI data alley and meet a genuine space hero.
Right after this.
Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of The Smart 7 is sponsored by Vodafone Business in partnership with Samsung. When you're running your own business, pretty much anywhere can be your office, the spare room, the back garden, or, like here, the local cafe. With the power of Vodafone Business's reliable award-winning network, combined with the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, there's no limit to what you can do pretty much anywhere. And over the next few weeks, we're going to answer some of the questions you might have about how best to unlock the power of AI in your business. For example,
how can I adapt the way I currently work to include AI?
Start small, identify repetitive or slow tasks, test AI tools for those and build them into existing processes. For example, drafting emails, summarising meetings or automating social posts. Remember to train staff to treat AI as an assistant, not a replacement, and create simple checklists for when AI should be used. If you've got a Galaxy S25 Ultra, you can also use Now Brief, a Galaxy AI feature. It's a daily report personalised for you and schedule reminders so you can stay prepared and focused. Getting back to the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, to take advantage of the Galaxy AI features and change the way you do business, you'll need a Samsung account and a network connection. To find out more, search Vodafone Business Samsung, and for network verification, go to vodafone.co.uk/network.
Welcome back.
We've all heard of Silicon Valley, but have you heard of Data Alley? It certainly sounds a lot less glamorous, but there's a serious amount of investment and energy being poured into artificial intelligence right now, and that means the need for data centres is almost endless. In the US state of Virginia, not far from Washington DC, is where you'll find what is known as Data Alley. Loudoun County, where the AI data centres are mainly located, consumes almost 5 gigawatts of power. That's more than the whole of Denmark, and it's tripled over the last 6 years. Sky's economics and data editor Ed Conway took a trip to Virginia to see what exactly goes on behind the closed door of AI data centres.
Now, when you think about things like AI, you're probably not necessarily thinking about the physical underpinnings, but it is a very physical thing. When, AI is training, when you're asking it questions, it's going to servers like this. And the striking thing is just how much they need when it comes to power, just how much they need when it comes to cooling. Beneath the floor, there are all of these pipes, supply and return pipes, each of which is plugged directly into the GPU to pass coolant around to make sure that these incredibly high temperature operations don't damage the chips. It is an extremely complex, energy-intensive operation, but this is what it takes to power the future.
Matthew Prince is co-founder and CEO of internet infrastructure company called Cloudflare. His company serves as a watchdog for the internet, protecting online companies from hackers and crashes. He says the internet is about to go through a pretty dramatic transformation driven by AI.
The internet's going through a massive transition. right now. And I think that transition is inevitable because at the end of the day, it's better for users. And you can actually see it by just watching any sci-fi movie. Some sci-fi movie you imagine that has a helpful robot and you say, I'd like a recipe for cookies. The robot doesn't come back and say, here are 10 links and maybe you can find it somewhere. The robot comes back and says, here's a recipe for cookies. And that once upon a time was science fiction. But if you look at the AI companies today, you look at something like ChatGPT, you look at Anthropic, you look even at what Google is becoming, where they're putting AI overviews at the top of the page. Instead of it being a search engine, this is becoming an answer engine.
Eileen Collins is one of a kind. She was the first woman to pilot and command a NASA spacecraft, and she was also a fighter pilot and an Air Force colonel. She's now retired from space, but a new documentary called Spacewoman tracks her achievements.
An astronaut is a person who does not fear problems, but yet sees problems as challenges, and frankly, exciting.
My mom had a childhood where there was quite a bit of violence.
My dad would come home drunk and get into a fight with my mom. It was unpredictable. That was the scariest thing about it. I learned, don't show that you're afraid. That way you control any element of fear that might affect you.
Oh my God.
We had an accident. Frankly, we've had 2 accidents. Those were moms and dads, and they all died. There were people that wanted to shut down the shuttle program, but there was no way I was going to quit that mission.
She was in London this week and caught up with the BBC to chat about her life and her experiences as a groundbreaking explorer and leader. She was a space shuttle commander, and after the 2003 Columbia disaster, which saw the returning space shuttle break up in the skies over Texas, killing 7 crew, there were calls for the programme to be ended. Eileen was the commander for the next scheduled mission, and her determination saw it go ahead.
I think quitting the mission would have been the opposite of brave, and I wanted to be a brave leader, a confident leader. I wanted to instill that confidence in other people.
The Columbia explosion was caused by a piece of missing insulation, but when the next mission launched, it appeared that something similar had happened to the Discovery. Collins flew the shuttle in a 360-degree loop under the International Space Station, which let crew on board check the damage and then supervised 3 spacewalks to carry out the repairs. Her skill meant that the crew all returned home safely.
And there were engineers and managers saying, that can't be done, that can't be done. You know, all these reasons why it's too dangerous. And after I listened to the discussion, they knew I was the commander. I said, it sounds like we can do it. And it became just an elegant solution, and I loved it.
That's not just a musical interlude, that's the sound of a patient undergoing an operation while she's playing the clarinet. The patient in question is Denise Bacon, and she suffers from Parkinson's disease, which she was diagnosed with in 2014. The procedure she had at King's College Hospital saw surgeons open her skull to carry out something called deep brain stimulation. She was playing the clarinet so that the surgeons could see and hear how her brain was reacting as they implanted electrodes. She told BBC Breakfast there was some immediate improvement in her condition, and she's optimistic that there's more to come.
I'm feeling really pleased that I'm getting towards being able to play the clarinet again. There's a period of programming that has to take place after the operation, so after the recovery period, I'm gradually getting more and more stimulation, and I can see that when I try to play the clarinet, it's gradually getting better.
This has been the Sunday 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. with the regular Smart 7. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.